Back to senior eNCA reporter Aviwe Mtila, who's of course, we understand, with Fikile Mbalula. Aviwe, morning.
Good morning, Tumelo. We're seeing the leadership of the African National Congress come out from the Mandela family home. Of course, that is to give condolences to the granddaughter of the Mandela, Zoleka Mandela. But of course, it is at a sad time for the party as a whole, as they lost a struggle stalwart just last night, the passing of 82-year-old Aziz Pahad. Let's just get some reaction from the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula. SG, thank you for joining us at eNCA. You've just come out from the Mandela home. How's the family doing?
The family is strong. We came and to convey our condolences. Of course, many of our leaders have been here. Our branch members, regional leaders, and now we are here ourselves. And we also got the news last night of the passing of Comrade Aziz Pahad. But first, to start with Zoleka. Zoleka was a person who was very brave and who educated a whole generation about many things, social ills. She was brave to confront and fight and win against breast cancer. And this was a second stint that she had to face of fighting cancer. And we were very optimistic because we were following her, because her story was out there. She spoke for herself. She was brave. We came to the family to express our condolences and our respects, and to say that South Africa has lost a warrior, indeed a heroine, somebody who took it upon herself to educate a whole generation. And out of her, there are people today who say, I'm what I am, I'm who I am because of that woman. And she didn't take things light, and she educated, a nation about whatever that she was confronting. So for that, we are grateful. And we're telling the family, conveying to the family, you are not alone in this difficult time. Draw solace from the knowledge that the whole nation and the family of the African National Congress is with you. And I dare say Zoleka was the people's person. She built her own, stature in society out of the difficulties that she confronted and educated people out of that. And for that, indeed, as individuals, as an organization, we're grateful to her for the life she lived, and we still were looking ahead for more from her. But now that everything else have happened, we really dip our revolutionary banners and we say, Mabahlale Kutiko.
And SG, it's not the only loss, of course. There is that loss of a giant, struggle stalwart, not only for the ANC, but a pioneer of democratic South Africa, Aziz Pahad. And we saw those messages coming even from the president. Maybe give us your messages as the ANC SG.
Comrade Aziz Pahad was a giant of our movement. And together with Pahad, they will be remembered for their role and contribution that they've made in the struggle for liberation of our people. And indeed, he was an intellectual. And in his book, he says he's an insurgent diplomat, so which means he's a rebel force. And in this particular instance, we remember him when President Mbeki deployed him and Mandela in that particular role. He did that job and that role, with utmost respect and great stature, respected ministers he served under, and was given difficult tasks by the president. And he played a role in Iraq and many other places, Palestine and so on, to try and negotiate peace and so on. And also in the African continent, in the struggle for African renaissance. He was right there, but like Ntate Mlangeni will say, a backroom boy. But he was not always in the front, but we who worked under his leadership and who were inspired by his deeds, we knew that this is the man. All of these things are happening because of him, but you will never see him in front and so on. Yet the leadership of the ANC and all of us, we trusted him, we believed in his capabilities, and it's not a person, a minute or an hour will pass without an idea or an exchange of views on anything, whenever you meet with him. Whether he was in a jolly mood or whatever, but all the time, wherever he is, he kept the fires burning in terms of ideas. So that was Comrade Aziz. So was Comrade Isop. And Comrade Isop, was that kind of a minister and a comrade who was forceful, but also in the struggle. I mean, they were there, and we will miss them. We will miss their contribution, but we say to their families and comrades, we've got to pick up the baton. These are the people who served our nation with diligence without any rewards. Aziz Pahad, Isop Pahad, they were just ordinary comrades who never fought for any position. Very disciplined, but at the same time astute in terms of ideas, and making it a point that the ANC live up to its role as a leader of society. So these were individuals who were, like that. And I'm just speaking as an SG, but there are better people who can give a consolidated, solid account about these comrades. And for us, as the younger generations, really, we pick up the baton and learn. And for the books that they've written, we read who they were and what they stood for.
Ordinary leaders that never wanted any particular positions. What can the current crop of leadership of the ANC take lessons from Isop Pahad as well as the now late Aziz Pahad?
Well, there's a lot we can learn from them, who they were from the point of discipline. It is very easy to talk about people being modest, but we only say once they are gone and they've parted, that these were revolutionaries. I say to you today, Aziz Pahad was a revolutionary. He was a revolutionary, can be counted amongst the luminaries of our revolution, not only across the continent and different continents in the world. He was selfless, indeed. And he did not aspire greatness through material things. He was just himself and making his input and then step back. I served, had an opportunity, if I were to strike a personal note with great respect. I served in the National Executive Committee with Malusi as the Secretary General and the President. Yeah, I think Aziz Pahad was something else. He could unpack anything that the President will bring to the National Executive Committee as an input, because President will bring a political overview and tell us this is the world, this is the balance of forces in the country. And then our duty as members of the NEC, us serving as ex officio, our task was to unpack politically. But Aziz Pahad will come tops without winning an award. But in our hearts, we knew that is the man who gave direction in this meeting. So when I say he was an intellectual of the ANC, I mean, from the contributions he has made in the global sphere, and at the same time, the contribution he has made in mostly international work, but also in terms of shaping the consistency of the ANC's ideological standing. And that is what he was. I mean, a great intellect, and who always will probe issues all the time and make it a point that we live up to what Che Guevara will say to the youth of Cuba when he was talking about the task of the youth. You must always think why things are the way they are and never stop thinking. So to Aziz, there was no inertia. And even at the age of 80 and still going stronger, he will always challenge the thoughts from, especially among young comrades and all of that. So I think that's what we need to lift from him. And unfortunately, you're not born with intellectualism. He was gifted. It's a gift, but you work for it based on the tools of analysis you have acquired from the learnings of the African National Congress and its political education.
SG, thank you very much for your time. The Secretary General of the African National Congress, flanked there by the Provincial Secretary of the ANC, as well as the spokesperson nationally of the African National Congress, and some of the Women's League members as they come to send their messages of condolences, not only to the Mandela family who have lost their granddaughter Zoleka Mandela, but as well to the Pahad family who, in a space of 2 months, have lost two struggle stalwarts in the form of Pahad, and now, just last night, the sad passing of Aziz Pahad. Of course, we're still to hear from the family itself in terms of how the funeral arrangements will be. We do understand it's going to be Muslim rites, which means that it could happen between any time from today or within the next 72 hours. They're just also waiting for a directive, Tumelo, from the president in terms of what category the funeral itself is going to be. And in speaking to the family spokesperson a bit earlier on, they're also suggesting that they're waiting for the body, but not confirming as yet when the legendary late struggle stalwart Aziz Gulam Pahad will be laid to rest.
And we'll continue, of course, following through with those updates. Avi, we'll update our viewers as soon as we get any communication from the family. As soon as we do, we'll be updating them right here on eNCA. Senior reporter Aviwe Mtila, thank you, colleague, for this update. All right, still to come right here.